Well, welcome back. We're in session 7. What if things get worse? And the one healthy terror. You know, I feel like as we're talking about these topics and we're walking through, I feel like we're just talking about things that have always been, right? I mean, they're current, right? They're things that are taking place right now. But as we go back and look through Scripture, we're just seeing highlight after highlight after highlight that people have battled fear, they've encountered anxiety, and this whole discussion and this whole topic of fearless is really important for us today. Let's jump into our primary Scripture and the general theme of chapter 13. You want to take the lead on that?
Sure. So our general theme is fear of global calamity. Sounds about right. A lot going on in the world right now, and there was when this was written as well. Matthew 24:6 says, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled." Does that sound familiar? Wars and rumors of wars. It's every day. See that you are not troubled. Again, a choice. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
You know, you begin to look at just how current that verse is, right? And I think that we hear more today because we have more resources, right? I mean, you know, 50 years ago, we couldn't be doing what we're doing right now.
Right.
We couldn't have done some of it, 10 years ago, right? But you start looking, we hear so many things and we experience so many things just due to the different technologies that are available.
Right.
But these problems have always existed. There were battles all through the Old Testament, right? There was wars and rumors of wars, and the people were constantly encountering and facing those fears. And as we walk through life, we're still dealing with it today. Page 152 says this: "Life is a dangerous endeavor. We pass our days in the shadows of ominous realities." There are some truths that we look at, right? Life presents some dangers. There's some things that are out there that can be challenging.
Yeah.
Are there other highlights down through this session?
Yeah, so I've lived a couple of days now, and I know it's hard to believe, as young as I look, but I remember growing up and hearing that all of our problems are going to be solved, all these miracle medicines and all the flying cars thing and all these things. But, the more they chase trying to fix things, the more things go sideways. And this technology that we have today seems to be intensifying the effect that causes fear in our lives. And so when we look at this passage of Scripture, it simply says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled." I think that is extremely important. That's a marker for us in our life, that we make sure that we don't let those things trouble us. It might be of interest. It might be something we need to know. It might be something we absolutely don't need to know. But we make a choice at that time. And so Max writes this on page 155. He says, "Be doctrinally diligent. Stick to one question. Is this person directing listeners to Jesus?" So who are you listening to? Who's your expert? Is it somebody at CNN? Is it somebody at Fox News? Is it somebody on a podcast? And are they directing you to Jesus? Because if they're not, they're part of the fear factor.
You know, I think that's a great take on that. There's so many things that people are directing us away from, right? They're directing us away from Christ, away from the truth that's found in His Word, and we don't even necessarily realize it. We just get taken in by it because it's the thing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's somebody that's there that we think are reliable or have been in previous situations. On page 157, it just says this: "Don't overreact," right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I think that we need to be reminded of that as well.
Yeah, we do. And most people listening here went through the COVID drama that was going on with that. And, we were getting bad information and we were getting good information. It was very hard to tell one from the other, but there was a lot of overreaction. There was a lot of running panic buying, and we had this guy where I worked who quit and said he and his family were going to meet up at a cabin at some undisclosed location, and that was their reaction to it. They were out.
Yeah.
I mean, he quit and went, and that was I don't know what they did eventually because it leveled out like things do. But don't panic is not of God, as fear is not of God, and we need to decide now what we're going to do in those moments.
Page 159 says, "How sturdy are the bolts of your belief? Reinforce them daily with Bible readings, regular worship, and honest communion with God." We've talked about Bible engagement. We've talked about getting connected to God through the Scriptures. That's why we do life groups, so that we can connect with God, so that we can connect with others, so that we can have those times of community that's centered on Christ and communion with God. We need that corporately. We need that personally. We need that in a group setting. How does that help us in a time where life seems to be uncertain?
Well, the Bible describes Jesus as the anchor of our soul. That's some deep stuff. We need that anchor. So our habits need to be that of godly things. Praying, reading, being among others in church setting, doing life group, being involved with others in ministry, which, helping other people and doing things for them they can't do themselves. All of those things are habits in our lives that build up so that when something does happen, we have that anchor to hold on to.
Yeah. At page 159, "All things big and small flow out of the purpose of God and serve His good will." Absolutely incredible for us to be reminded of and remember in that aspect. Let's jump down to chapter 14. Walk us down through these realities that are there that we see that Max has outlined and that we find all throughout Scripture.
So we have another situation. It's out at the Mount of Transfiguration as Jesus took a couple of his disciples with him. And it says in Matthew 17, verse 6, it says, "And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly afraid." Now they were with Jesus, and he was shown in his glorified self, and they were greatly afraid. But Jesus came and touched them and said, "Arise and do not be afraid." Arise and do not be afraid. That's Jesus' message to us, that we need to not be afraid. And Max wrote on page 164, says, "And when it comes to defining Christ, no box works." And that hit me like a ton of bricks the first time I read that. You cannot put Jesus in a box.
No, but what we try to, right?
We do.
We try and imagine him in certain ways. We try and allow him to work in certain areas, but we can't do it. Page 165, boxed size gods. You'll find them in the tight group of people who prefer a God that can manage, control, and predict. Right? They want to be able to manage, control, and predict what he's going to do.
Right. Yeah, because that's the way we're built. We're all control freaks at some level. So we want to, as we talked about the course that our lives take with the coffee analogy, we want to build our own coffee, but God's already got something else in mind.
Yeah, a much better blend for our life, right?
Yes.
Definitely. I love page 168. Fire on the mountain led to fear on the mountain, a holy, healthy fear. Peter, James, and John experienced a fortifying terror, a stabilizing reverence of the one and only God. You know what? The things that God does shouldn't make us afraid to approach Him. It ought to give us a reverence and a respect of just how powerful and amazing that He is.
Yes, it should. He is the one and true living God. And then Max follows up with that, page 169. He says, "This is the fear of the Lord. Most of our fears are poisonous." That's very important. Most of our fears are poisonous. They steal sleep and pillage peace. But this fear is different. The fear of the Lord is different than the fear that the world brings to us.
Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing to stop and realize just how amazing the Lord is and all that He can do. Well, as we close out this session and wrap things up, any words of advice, any words of wisdom for the groups as they get ready to discuss?
Well, as we've talked about throughout this, I would recommend keeping this book handy. Keep it on your emergency shelf, if you will, as fear strikes you. Mark up the pages so you know where to go to. Put some Post-it notes in it, and reread it every once in a while, just because it needs to be reread. And the passages of Scripture need to always be reread, and keep it handy, because fear is common to mankind. And if you're not in fear right now of something, you will be. And so make that choice, that very important choice, to trust God in all this and what He's doing with your life, rather than choosing fear.
I want to thank you for being on the journey with us, right? And getting to a point of where we are, because this isn't necessarily the final session, but as we look at it, it's a wrap up of this study of Fearless. There's some closing notes that just I want to draw our attention to. It says there is a conclusion chapter at the end of the book titled William's Psalm. The chapter provides a historical account that serves to sum up what has been covered. If possible, it's going to be worth some extra time reviewing it, spending some time on it, and getting some application. And I would encourage you to do that. Remember, as we take this journey, right, we are on a journey to become more like Christ. And when we begin to look at Jesus and all the things that He did, we find that He encountered many of the same circumstances in life that we encounter. He encountered them before us, and remember this, He encountered them for us. Many things He encountered so that we don't have to, or so that we can look and see, hey, He's been there, He's done that, and that gives us hope. So we want to encourage you, take some time, discuss all these truths, and go out and live your life and be fearless.